written in the same reconstructed narrative style inspired by the kinds of civil disputes commonly featured on the series rather than a verified transcript, begins with a lawsuit between the owner of a residential roofing company and a homeowner over a complete roof replacement project that allegedly resulted in persistent leaks, damaged interior ceilings, disputed warranty obligations, and unpaid construction invoices. The plaintiff, who has operated a licensed roofing business for nearly 18 years, explains that the defendant contacted his company after a severe windstorm damaged the aging roof of a two-story home. Following an inspection, the plaintiff recommended replacing the entire asphalt shingle roof, repairing several sections of roof decking, installing new flashing around the chimney, and upgrading attic ventilation to comply with current building standards. According to the plaintiff, the defendant accepted the proposal after receiving estimates from several competing contractors. A written agreement specified the materials to be used, the total contract price, estimated completion within 1 week, and a 5-year workmanship warranty. Work began promptly. Old shingles were removed. Damaged plywood decking was replaced where necessary, and new roofing materials were installed without significant delay. Municipal inspectors later approved the completed project, and the plaintiff considered the work finished after conducting a final walkthrough with the homeowner. The plaintiff testifies that approximately 6 weeks later, following an unusually heavy rainstorm, the defendant reported water stains appearing on an upstairs bedroom ceiling near the chimney. The plaintiff immediately dispatched a crew to inspect the property. According to his testimony, technicians found no defects in the newly installed shingles but observed deteriorated brick mortar surrounding the chimney structure. He recommended that the defendant hire a masonry contractor because the water intrusion appeared to originate through aging brickwork rather than the roof itself. The defendant disagreed, insisting that the roof installation remained responsible for the leak. Over the following 2 months, additional rainstorms allegedly produced new water stains in both the hallway and attic. Frustrated by what he viewed as repeated failures to correct the problem, the defendant hired an independent roofing consultant. That consultant concluded that sections of chimney flashing had been improperly integrated with the roofing system, allowing rainwater to enter beneath the shingles during wind-driven storms. The homeowner then hired another roofing company to remove portions of the newly installed roof, replace the flashing, repair damaged insulation, and restore stained drywall inside the home. Because the defendant refused to pay the final installment under the original contract, the plaintiff now seeks the remaining balance together with compensation for what he considers unjustified damage to his company's reputation. The defendant disputes the plaintiff's claims and argues that he withheld final payment only because the roof never performed as promised. According to his testimony, multiple leaks developed almost immediately after installation despite the roof being brand new. He insists that a homeowner purchasing a complete roof replacement should not be forced to hire additional contractors within weeks simply to prevent rainwater from entering the house. Judge Judy immediately requests the construction agreement, warranty documentation, municipal inspection reports, and photographs of the alleged leaks. The plaintiff produces detailed records confirming that the roof passed final inspection without violations. Judge Judy reviews the documents carefully before asking whether the defendant allowed the plaintiff reasonable opportunities to perform warranty repairs before hiring another contractor. The defendant acknowledges permitting to inspection visits, but argues that no meaningful repairs were ever completed. Attention then shifts toward the expert evidence. The defendant introduces the independent consultant's written report together with photographs showing improperly overlapped flashing near the chimney base and moisture damage inside the attic. Judge Judy asks whether the consultant physically removed roofing materials during the inspection. The consultant appears as an expert witness and explains that limited removal of shingles exposed flashing that had not been fully integrated. According to accepted installation practices, he concludes that wind-driven rain could bypass the flashing and travel beneath the roofing material. The plaintiff responds by calling his lead installer as a witness. The installer testifies that every flashing component was installed according to manufacturer specifications and inspected before completion. He believes that cracks in the chimney masonry, not defective flashing, allowed water to enter the structure. Judge Judy asks whether any water testing was performed to isolate the precise source of the leak. The installer admits that no controlled testing occurred before the defendant hired another contractor. An independent building inspector appears as a neutral expert witness. After reviewing both reports, repair invoices, and photographs, he concludes that the leak likely resulted from a combination of minor flashing deficiencies and deteriorated chimney masonry. According to his testimony, either condition alone might not have produced substantial leakage, but together they created a pathway for water intrusion during severe weather. Judge Judy asks whether the roofing contractor should have recognized the deteriorated masonry before completing the installation. The inspector replies that experienced roofers generally identify visible masonry problems and advise homeowners in writing whenever additional repairs are recommended. Discussion broadens into the responsibilities of construction professionals performing work on older homes. Judge Judy explains that contractors cannot ignore obvious structural conditions likely to compromise otherwise competent work. At the same time, homeowners must recognize that replacing one component of an aging structure does not automatically correct unrelated defects elsewhere. The plaintiff argues that he repeatedly recommended chimney repairs, but the defendant refused because of additional cost. The defendant denies receiving any written recommendation before the dispute arose. Judge Judy notes that verbal conversations become difficult to prove months later, emphasizing the importance of documenting significant recommendations in writing. Closing arguments summarize the dispute. The plaintiff argues that he completed a professionally installed roof and should receive the unpaid contract balance because unrelated chimney defects caused the leaks. The defendant maintains that faulty flashing installation forced him to spend thousands of dollars correcting problems that should never have existed. Judge Judy carefully reviews the construction contract, warranty documents, inspection reports, expert testimony, photographs, invoices, correspondence, and repair estimates before delivering her decision. She concludes that the evidence demonstrates shared responsibility. The plaintiff failed to document concerns regarding the deteriorated chimney adequately and should have performed more comprehensive leak testing under the workmanship warranty before insisting the roof was not at fault. However, The defendant also benefited from a properly installed new roofing system and cannot avoid paying entirely because portions of the water intrusion resulted from pre-existing masonry deterioration. Judge Judy orders the defendant to pay a reduced portion of the remaining contract balance after deducting the reasonable cost associated with correcting the flashing deficiencies. She denies reimbursement for interior cosmetic repairs unrelated to the roofing contractor's proven workmanship and reminds both parties that better communication could have prevented months of unnecessary litigation. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to homeowners and contractors alike. Roofing companies should document every recommendation concerning adjacent structural defects in writing and perform thorough water testing whenever leaks are reported under warranty. Homeowners should understand that complex buildings often require multiple repairs performed by different specialists rather than expecting one contractor to solve every existing problem. The litigants leave the courtroom with a balanced outcome. The roofing contractor recovers compensation for the majority of the work successfully completed, while the homeowner receives recognition that certain installation deficiencies contributed to the leaking roof. Judge Judy concludes the case with another practical lesson. A warranty is only as valuable as the willingness to investigate problems carefully, and written documentation remains the strongest protection for everyone involved in a construction project. Continues with a second case involving a dispute between the owner of a luxury automobile detailing business and the owner of an exotic sports car over an allegedly damaged paint finish, improper ceramic coating application, and responsibility for the cost of repainting portions of the vehicle after an expensive detailing package failed to produce the promised results. The plaintiff, who operates a high-end automotive detailing studio specializing in luxury and collector vehicles, explains that the defendant brought in a recently purchased Italian sports car for a premium detailing package that included paint correction, ceramic coating, wool protection, interior leather treatment, and glass restoration. According to the plaintiff, the defendant wanted the vehicle prepared for an upcoming automobile exhibition and insisted that every visible imperfection be removed before the event. After inspecting the car, the plaintiff warned that some deeper scratches could not be eliminated safely without compromising the original paint thickness. But the defendant nevertheless approved the recommended treatment plan and signed a detailed service agreement. The plaintiff states that the work required nearly 4 full days. Multiple stages of paint correction were completed using specialized polishing equipment. The ceramic coating was applied in a climate-controlled environment, and the vehicle remained indoors while the coating cured according to the manufacturer's specifications. When the defendant collected the vehicle, he allegedly expressed satisfaction, complimented the finish, and drove away after paying only part of the invoice, promising to transfer the remaining balance within a few days. According to the plaintiff, the situation changed less than a week later. The defendant contacted the shop claiming that streaks had appeared across the hood, swirl marks became visible under direct sunlight, and sections of the ceramic coating had developed an uneven gloss. He demanded that the detailing business either pay for repainting the affected panels or refund the entire service price. The plaintiff immediately offered to inspect the vehicle and reapply the coating if necessary, believing that the defects resulted from improper washing techniques after delivery rather than poor workmanship. The defendant refused the offer and instead hired another detailing specialist, who allegedly recommended sanding away the coating and repainting the hood and front fenders. The plaintiff now seeks the unpaid balance of the detailing invoice after the defendant refused to complete payment. The defendant disputes the plaintiff's claims and argues that the vehicle left the detailing shop in a defective condition. According to his testimony, he followed every maintenance instruction provided after the ceramic coating was applied. The car remained inside a private garage for several days before being washed by hand using products recommended by the plaintiff. He insists that swirl marks and cloudy patches appeared before the first wash and became even more noticeable under bright daylight. Because the sports car represented a substantial financial investment, he refused to allow the original shop another opportunity to work on it. Fearing additional damage to the factory paint, Judge Judy immediately requests the service agreement together with photographs taken before and after the detailing work. The plaintiff produces high-resolution images documenting the vehicle's original condition, showing moderate paint imperfections that existed before polishing. Judge Judy carefully compares the photographs before asking whether final inspection photographs were also taken immediately before delivery. The plaintiff confirms that they were and submits additional images displaying a glossy, highly reflective finish. Attention then shifts toward the disputed defects. The defendant introduces close-up photographs allegedly taken for days after collecting the vehicle. The images show faint hologram patterns on the hood, inconsistent reflections along one door, and several areas where the ceramic coating appears slightly hazy. Judge Judy asks whether those conditions could have developed after improper washing. The plaintiff replies that automatic car washes, contaminated towels, or harsh chemicals commonly produce similar defects. An independent paint restoration specialist appears as an expert witness. After examining the vehicle under specialized inspection lighting, he concludes that the underlying factory paint remains intact and does not require repainting. Instead, he believes portions of the ceramic coating were applied unevenly, and certain polishing stages left minor holograms that became visible only under intense lighting. He explains that these issues can generally be corrected through careful polishing and reapplication of the ceramic coating rather than complete repainting. Judge Judy asks whether the defects permanently reduce the vehicle's value. The expert replies that they are cosmetic rather than structural and can likely be corrected without replacing any painted panels. The defendant appears surprised but continues to argue that a premium detailing service should have delivered flawless results from the beginning. The plaintiff points to warranty language within the service agreement promising complimentary correction of any verified application defects reported within 30 days. Email correspondence introduced into evidence shows that he repeatedly invited the defendant to return the vehicle for inspection and warranty service. The defendant acknowledges receiving those messages but explains that he had already lost confidence in the business. Discussion broadens into the purpose of workmanship warranties. Judge Judy explains that customers generally cannot refuse reasonable warranty repairs and then demand substantially greater compensation without first allowing the service provider an opportunity to correct minor defects. Likewise, Businesses advertising premium workmanship must stand behind their services promptly when legitimate complaints arise. Closing arguments summarize the dispute. The plaintiff argues that the defendant denied him the contractual right to inspect and repair the vehicle while continuing to benefit from most of the detailing work already completed. The defendant maintains that after paying a premium price he expected perfection and should not have to return repeatedly for corrective work. Judge Judy carefully reviews the service agreement, warranty provisions, inspection photographs, expert testimony, invoices, emails, and maintenance instructions before delivering her decision. She concludes that the evidence establishes minor workmanship deficiencies in the ceramic coating application, but rejects the defendant's claim that the vehicle required complete repainting. Most importantly, the defendant failed to provide the plaintiff a reasonable opportunity to perform warranty corrections before seeking significantly more expensive repairs elsewhere. Judge Judy orders the defendant to pay the majority of the outstanding invoice, but reduces the amount to reflect the reasonable cost of correcting the cosmetic coating defects identified by the independent expert. She also reminds the plaintiff that premium services require premium quality control and encourages more thorough final inspections before returning future vehicles to customers. Before dismissing the parties, Judge Judy offers practical advice to service providers and consumers alike. Businesses should carefully document completed work with detailed photographs and honor warranties quickly whenever concerns arise. Customers, meanwhile, should allow reasonable opportunities for warranty repairs before demanding replacement or pursuing expensive alternatives. The litigants leave the courtroom with a practical compromise. The detailing shop receives payment for the substantial value of the services successfully performed, while the sports car owner obtains compensation for the limited corrections genuinely required. Judge Judy concludes the case with another familiar observation. Perfection is an ambitious goal, but fairness requires judging work by the defects that actually exist, not by the frustrations that follow when communication breaks down.